All right, hello. How you doing? This is week 2, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be doing human impact on ecosystems, as you can see. I'm going to walk you through this. This is kind of a summary of the topics that you'll see on the quiz. We do have a quiz on Thursday. You're going to want to check on EDSB. I put all of your assignments into one page. It'll be in the journal. It'll be in the pinned items, which you'll see on the left-hand side of the EDSB page. But back to human impact on ecosystems, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. All right, so this presentation is a summary of the YouTube playlist. This YouTube playlist, you can find it here. You'll also find a link in the document I talked about before, which tells you everything that is due to this week. And if you did everything last week, you're only going to really have to do this little summary. You can watch a few movies, and you can watch as many or as few of those films on YouTube as you'd like. I guess some of you don't like it when I call them films, the videos. Anyhow, you watch as many of those as you need, and then you take the quiz. So we're trying to keep it short, especially this week is a short week. We don't have school on Friday. Well, we don't have school ever, but we don't have even e-learning. So you're going to have a 4-day work week. I hope you guys get out and have some fun. Hope you're getting used to this new way of learning. So what's so great about biodiversity anyway? I want you to recall that bio is the word for life, and diversity, it means to be split apart. Think of division. So what we're talking about is different types of life. And why is it useful? Well, it's useful because ecosystems are really just a collection of abiotic and biotic things working together. And if you don't have a lot of different things working together, your ecosystem becomes very fragile. I'll explain. Now, what happens is when things change, say you get more weather, you get more rainfall, you get a change in the temperature, you, everything has to adapt. And if the ecosystem has a lot of different biotic and abiotic factors, it's more likely to adapt. It's sort of like if you buy a whole bunch of tickets for the lottery, you're more likely to win the lottery as opposed to just buying one, which, by the way, don't play the lottery. It's a sucker's game. If there are many producers, let's take, for example, trees. Back in the day when I was a kid, there was this thing that happened a lot in the trees in my neighborhood called Dutch elms disease. And what Dutch elms disease, oh no, my picture didn't show up. There was a picture of Dutch elms disease here. Maybe it'll come up. There we go. And as you can see, a lot of the branches in the tree would die off. This was terrible in my neighborhood. It killed almost all of these beautiful trees that we had that were covering the road, and we didn't know how to stop it. Well, if this is an ecosystem that has only Dutch elm trees, then the animals that live in that ecosystem are going to have a tough time surviving because there's not going to be a lot of trees. But if there are a bunch of different types of trees, it can stand to lose one species, the Dutch elm. It'll be changed. There'll be a new equilibrium. The books will be balanced in a different way, but the most of the ecosystem will survive losing one species or a huge chunk of the species. Now, I also tried to make the analogy over here. That's what this is. This e-learning business. If we only had books like we did back in the day, you wouldn't be able to do this e-learning. Now, some of you might go, oh, that's a great thing, no e-learning. But if you didn't have the e-learning, we might have to redo 7th grade. We don't want that, right? So our diversity of 411 machines or information machines, iPads and whatnot, they gave us the option, the flexibility to adapt to these changes. And that's why we're going to be able to finish the year and prosper. Isn't that happy? Oh no, my face is covering up that's the happiest dog in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Not my dog. Okay, deforestation. One thing that can happen if you don't have a lot of biodiversity is when you deforest a place. It means literally taking out the forest. So sort of like our school has been de-studentified, if you will. It's been teacherified, it's been de-administrationified, it's been de-school counselorified. There's just no people at our school. Deforestation means you took out the forest. And when you do that, what happens is you take out all the roots that hold in the moisture and hold in the soil. If I think in language arts you learn something about the Dust Bowl. I'm not sure if you do that this year or not. Maybe it's in social studies. But if you take all of the plant life out and the trees out, the soil will be removed and all of the moisture won't be held in as well. It's the same reason why you might put mulch in your front yard. If there are things to hold it down, the ground will be able to retain moisture better, and it keeps the environment a little bit cleaner. Now, there's something called a cascade effect. Cascade means a waterfall. And what happens if you take out the trees, as I mentioned, it gets very dry very quickly. You lose the topsoil and you lose the water retention. And what happens is you get something like a desert. So that's where this word comes from. My music studio, this used to be my music studio where I am right now. It's now an office. It's undergone officification, if you will. Desertification is the same thing. Okay, we already talked about the roots holding water. Now, invasive species. So invasive species are species that have invaded. Now, don't imagine a bunch of, pythons or something with, Kalashnikovs or whatever. These are rifles, by the way, and entering as a combating army. What usually happens is people get these things as pets. So imagine you get this little snake that you can hold into something that used to be a fish aquarium, and pretty soon this snake that's only about this big is now 15, 20 feet long and about this wide, and you have to feed it something huge, not just like a mouse a week. You have to give it something bigger, like say a pig, a small pig, every week or so. Well, people just can't keep these in their apartments or their houses. It's insane. And so they'll kind of give them up and they'll get rid of them. Now, the way that I put these pictures in is not showing the way I wanted it, but there's a movie called The Invasion of the Giant Pythons. It's a bit old now, but it's really good in showing how we got these Burmese pythons in Florida. It's an hour long. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to, but it's interesting. There's a free low res link right here, this daily motion video. You can see it that way. Or you can see it on Amazon Prime, or if your parents are PBS Passport members, that means you contributed to PBS. You can also see it on PBS. But what happens is an invasive species like the Burmese python, it has no predators, it has no competition. The nearest big snake is no competition for an for the invasive python. And the prey animals, in this case, the mammals of the Everglades, they had no resistance. They were not adapted to dealing with these giant pythons that were everywhere. And when the python problem first got bad, basically what happened was there was a hurricane, and a bunch of pythons that people had given up as pets, they were collected in these little places where they were just trying to keep the pythons safe and out of the ecosystem. Well, some hurricanes came along, and the hurricanes destroyed these buildings, and the snakes actually escaped. And this led to a huge problem. It got really bad a few years ago. It's still not solved, but the the uh, the mammal population in the Everglades decreased by 80 or 90%. So think about that. It completely changed the ecosystem. And it was all because these species had not really adapted. They had not evolved to live with the other species. They hadn't evolved to live with the abiotic conditions that were in the Everglades. And they very nearly took over. Every year, still to this day, you can go to the Everglades and hunt these pythons. And I don't know how much money you get, but I think they pay something like hundreds of dollars for getting a python. You should fact check me on that one though. So people get these pets, not just pythons, but other pets too. And they're little cute and cuddly, and before you know it, they're too big for them to maintain. They put them out into the wild, and this is why invasive species is a human impact on the environment. This is the movie I was talking about called Invasion of the Giant Pythons. You should It is entertaining. It's F. Murray Abraham, who you you guys probably don't know this, but your parents do. He was in this movie called Amadeus. He's a great actor. But anyway, he narrates this thing. Give it a shot. Oh my gosh, I'm talking so much. I apologize. It's just like in school. So don't forget to review symbiotic relationships, because on the quiz that you'll find on EDSB, I'm not sure if I should post it tomorrow or not, but I probably will. It'll be up there by Wednesday. But you'll have 2 times to take the quiz, but most of the quiz questions are going to be about the human impact on ecosystems. And you'll find, I think it's 4 or 5 questions on symbiotic relationships. So this quiz is going to be 10 questions, and you'll have 2 times to take it. Now, if you do it 2 times and you still have a lousy grade, then you need to EDSB message me, and we'll work something out. Even if that's a private Zoom, or we'll do a Zoom with a small number of people to try to get you squared away. That's groovy. But the main idea is that if you don't do well, that you should contact me in some way. All right, so these are the symbiotic relationships, just in case you forgot. Mutualism, commensalism, predation, parasitism. On the quiz, what it is it gives you these little scenarios or scenarios. How do you say it? Scenario or scenario? And you have to decide which symbiotic relationship each scenario is. Okay, that's it. Now there is a Word document that looks like this. Oh, you can't see that. Let me do it again. So the Word document looks like, oh, it's not up. But anyway, never mind the Word document. You'll see the Word document. It looks sort of like the updated to-do list last week, but this week it just says to-do list week 2. All right, so that's it. Be good. Remember, EDSB message me if you have any problems whatsoever. If you're working on something for longer than 5 minutes and you're beating your head against the wall, you can't figure it out, please stop. EDSB message me and I'll help you out. All right, have a good one. Keep working. By the way, I was really impressed with the work everybody did last week, so please keep it up. Thank you.